Lesson 23, Sounds We Don't Have in English. You know, Catherine, this gimmick that I've been using so far, spelling out English words with Greek letters, has worked up to a point, but now the system is going to start breaking down a bit because there are just some Greek letters that have sounds that we just don't have in English. So I can't really use them to spell out English words. We're sort of entering into a new phase of learning about the Greek alphabet.
Yeah, we're going past English and into the letters that are specifically Greek and that therefore don't have a corresponding sound in English. So the sophisticated learning technique we've been using will have a little bit of a different look.
And so what this means to you as the reader or listener is that you have to start making sounds with your mouth that you have not made before. You're going to have to try to experiment. You're going to have to try to maybe even be a bit adventurous. But you know, Catherine, for me, it's letters like these that really make the difference when you're trying to pronounce a foreign language correctly.
Mm-hmm.
When you pronounce the words of the foreign language with the actual sounds that speakers of that language make, not the way you would pronounce it if you were just reading it in English, that's what really makes it sound authentic. And so I would point out to our listeners that it's really important to try to make these sounds.
It's also, in my mind, one of the things that makes the language, whichever language it is, more fun, because I don't get to make these sounds in English. And it may feel silly at first for our listeners, particularly with some of the sounds that just you have to move your mouth in a different way. But it's actually a fun process to kind of experiment and figure out how to do it. And then you get comfortable, and it's one of those really confidence building moments of, oh, I can do this thing.
That's right. And to help you do it, we've equipped you with the pronunciation recordings that go along with the book. And also, we're going to take you through each of the sounds here in these recordings. So the effort that you put into pronouncing these sounds correctly will really pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find out later that when you start to pronounce words, if you and the people around you pronounce the words correctly, you can actually hear how it's spelled. And that's a really great learning aid for students.
Absolutely.
And one last point before we go, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because making mistakes is an important part of the learning process. Mistakes are your friend, because when you make a mistake and then you learn not to make the mistake, that's really where the learning happens.
Yeah, and particularly with some of these letters, they're just so foreign to the English language that they will take some practice. And that's just part of the process as well, is it may not be intuitive at first, but continued practice will mean that our listeners will become more and more comfortable with these letters, and eventually they'll just roll off the tongue.